The message was never meant to be serious. It was sent late at night from a small human research ship drifting near the outer edge of a trade corridor where very few ships ever passed. The human officer who sent it was named Daniel Carter. He had been awake for many hours watching slow screens and silent sensors. Space was quiet that night. To quiet, Daniel leaned back in his chair and sighed. Human ships had joined the galactic community only a few years earlier. Many alien species still watched humans with curiosity and caution. Humans were loud, curious, and unpredictable. Daniel opened the long-range communication panel and typed a message that he thought was funny. Human male seeks alliance, marriage, stop sending barren princesses. He stared at the words for a moment, then he laughed softly and pressed send. The signal left the ship and raced through the stars. Daniel forgot about it within minutes, but the message did not vanish. It reached the Varelian Empire. The Varelian Empire was one of the oldest powers in the galaxy. Their cities floated above violet oceans and crystal towers. Shined beneath three pale suns, the Empire ruled hundreds of worlds and billions of citizens. But behind all the beauty the Empire carried a silent fear. For 3 centuries, the royal bloodline had produced no heir. Doctors and scientists from thousands of systems had studied the problem. Nothing worked. The royal family had only one remaining heir princess, Larissa. She was intelligent, calm, and respected by her people, but every medical report said the same thing: she could not have children. The word barren followed her everywhere, like a shadow. Many nobles whispered about it. Many enemies waited for the Empire to weaken. An empire without an heir would one day collapse. When the strange human message arrived, the Imperial Council gathered immediately. The message was projected in the center of the chamber. Human male seeks alliance, marriage, stop sending barren princesses. The council studied the message carefully. They did not laugh. The Emperor spoke slowly. Humans are biologically unusual. Their species adapts quickly. Perhaps their genetics may succeed where ours have failed. One advisor hesitated. The message may have been a joke, the Emperor answered calmly. Then we will test the joke. Within 2 days a decision was made. Princess Larissa would travel to human space. When the princess heard the plan, she stood silently in the council chamber. Her silver eyes moved. Across the room, you wish to send me across the galaxy to marry a stranger because of a strange message. The Emperor looked tired but determined. We have exhausted every other path. The Empire needs hope. The journey to human territory lasted 3 weeks. The royal ship was enormous and elegant. Its surface shimmered like polished crystal as it moved through the darkness of space. When it finally arrived above Earth, human defense fleets rushed into position. No one expected a massive alien flagship to appear without warning. Human diplomats hurried to understand the situation. Then the Varelian ambassador delivered the explanation. Princess Larissa has arrived to accept the marriage proposal. The human officials stared in confusion. What proposal? The message was displayed on the large screen. Several humans slowly turned their heads toward one nervous officer standing near the wall. Daniel Carter raised his hand slowly. I may have sent that. The room went silent. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. It was supposed to be a joke. The Varelian ambassador answered calmly. The Empire does not understand human jokes, but the princess is already here. Human leaders realized something important very quickly. Rejecting the princess could damage relations with one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, so they agreed to meet her princess. Larissa entered the diplomatic hall with quiet grace. Her silver armor flowed like liquid metal around her tall form. Soft violet light reflected from her eyes. The room became silent as every human looked at her. Daniel felt suddenly very small. The princess stopped in front of him. You sent the message? Daniel nodded slowly. Yes. Why? Daniel thought carefully before answering honestly. I was bored and tired for a moment. The princess said nothing, then she spoke quietly. Humans are very unusual. Despite the strange beginning, the alliance ceremony moved forward. The marriage was small and simple by both human and Varelian standards. Soon after the ceremony, the princess remained on Earth to study human culture. At first, everything felt strange to her. Human cities were noisy. Human traffic moved constantly. Human conversations were filled with laughter and emotion on the world's life was far more controlled and quiet. Daniel tried his best to show her the best parts of Earth. He took her to see oceans where waves rolled endlessly toward the shore. He showed her forests where wind moved through green leaves. He introduced her to human music, which surprised her with its energy. Slowly, the princess began to relax. One evening, they stood beside a quiet lake outside a small town. The moon reflected across the still water. Larissa watched the reflection for a long time. Your world feels alive, Daniel smiled. Earth always feels like that. She looked at him. If this fails, my empire will lose its final chance. Daniel answered simply, then we will try our best. Months passed. Quietly, the princess adapted more and more to life on Earth. She spoke with human scientists and diplomats. She walked through parks where children played without fear. She began to smile more often. Than one morning, something unexpected happened. The medical scanners inside the embassy clinic began to sound alerts. Doctors checked the readings again and again. The results were impossible to ignore. One doctor finally turned toward the princess. His voice shook slightly. Princess Larissa, you are pregnant. For several seconds, the princess simply stared at him. That is not possible, but the medical data showed the same result every time. Within hours, the message traveled across the stars, back to the Varelian Empire. The barren princess carried a child across hundreds of worlds. People watched the announcement with disbelief. Then celebrations erupted across the Empire. Cities filled with music and bright lights. Temples rang with bells of joy. Hope returned to a civilization that had nearly lost it back on Earth. Daniel stared at the medical report with wide eyes. I cannot believe the joke worked. 9 months later, the Varelian flagship returned once again. This time it carried the princess, the human engineer, and their newborn child. The imperial capital gathered in enormous crowds as the royal ship descended toward the floating city. Crystal towers glowed beneath the evening sky. Princess Larissa stepped onto the balcony of the palace. Holding the small child in her arms, beside her stood Daniel Carter, who still felt like an ordinary engineer trapped inside an unbelievable story. The emperor lifted the child so the entire city could see. The crowd erupted with thunderous cheers. After 3 centuries, the empire finally had an heir. The child carried the blood of 2 species, human and Varelian. Historians across the galaxy would speak about that moment for generations. Some said it was fate, some said it was biology. Many simply said it was the strange power of humans. Humans had a habit of turning accidents into history. They solved impossible problems in unexpected ways. Sometimes they succeeded, not through careful planning, but through curiosity and chance. One evening, years later, Daniel stood beside the princess while their child slept peacefully. In a quiet chamber of the palace, soft violet lights glowed above them. Daniel spoke softly. Do you ever regret coming to Earth? Princess Larissa looked at their sleeping child. Then she looked at Daniel. Your people sent a joke into the stars. My empire found its future. No, I do not regret it. Outside the palace, the stars continued to shine across the endless galaxy, and somewhere far away, another human ship drifted through the quiet darkness. Inside that ship, another bored human officer stared at a communication console. No one knew what message might be sent next, and no one knew what empire it might save. Asterisk.